Welcome back to Figs Talks Fights. I'm Brian Figueredo. Today we're getting right into the UFC 262 preview show. We got the vacant lightweight championship on the line with Charles Oliveira taking on former Bellator champ Michael Chandler. Co-main event, we got Tony Ferguson taking on Beneil Dariush. Let's get right into it, all right? Now, vacant lightweight title is in the reigning champion Khabib Nurmagomedov announced his retirement immediately after his win last, I believe, October the 24th, UFC 254, okay? Said he was retired, then Dana White and the UFC had to drag this out for a couple of months until Khabib Nurmagomedov said, you know, I'm retired. You retired in the first place. So finally, we had to have a lightweight championship taking place. So these two guys are the most viable contenders, considering that the actual #1 contender, Dustin Poirier, coming off his emphatic win against Conor McGregor at UFC 257, just back this January 2021. He's going into a trilogy fight with Conor McGregor coming up in July at UFC 264. Who else is down in the rankings? Well, Charles Oliveira is on an 8-fight winning streak, and Michael Chandler just made a hell of a debut into the UFC. He's been a company man from day one. And look, we all know Dana White likes company men. So how the hell do these guys stack up? All right. This is a big pick'em fight for me. I mean, after the fight's over, it's going to be obvious who the hell you should have gone with in the first place. But I mean, I'm going back and forth between Charles Oliveira and Michael Chandler. So let's just take a look at the fights they just came off of, all right? Now, I want to go back to the last 8 fights that both of these guys have had, because that's the fight streak or the winning streak that Charles Oliveira is on right now. So taking a look at both their records, we'll start off with Michael Chandler. Okay, now all these wins are going to take, or wins and losses, I should say, for Michael Chandler, are going to be taking place in the Bellator cage, minus the last one he just had against Dan Hooker. So about 8 fights ago, he takes on Brent Primus, okay, at Bellator, New York City. I believe this was in June 2017. It was Bellator's second hooray into the pay-per-view realm, headlined by Vanderlei Silva and Chael Sonnen. But Michael Chandler, this was his time to shine, and he looked good in this fight until he ate a couple of low calf kicks. And I mean, it's more prevalent in today's world, but Brent Primus was one of the guys that just first guys to show in a high-level mixed martial arts competition that you can just take your opponent's leg right out from underneath him. Okay, Michael Chandler couldn't even stand on one foot, and this was, if you go back and watch this, it's a little upsetting because there's one scene where the fight's already over, they call it. Michael Chandler sitting on the stool. He goes to stand up and say, hey, I can still fight. Don't be celebrating too much. And then goes to sit back down. But the commissioner pulled the stool out from underneath him. Poor Michael Chandler ends up on his ass there. So who knows? Maybe he can make up for that embarrassing moment tomorrow. But after that, he went to fight off in Japan for Bellator, of course. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Giodi Yamuchi, he got a decision against him. Probably butchered that name, so my apologies. Brandon Gritz got an arm triangle on him a few months later. Then gets his rematch against Brent Primus. Takes a decision there. It was mainly out of grinding out decision. Michael Chandler didn't spend too much time trading on the feet. Then he goes into a super fight against who is now Bellator's featherweight and lightweight champion, but at the time, Patricio Freire. Your reigning, defending featherweight champion coming up to fight Michael Chandler. They had history there as Chandler had beat his older brother, Patricky Freire, twice. Most recently, he just KO'd him with a one-punch shot to win the title, the lightweight title again in Bellator. Okay, Michael Chandler's got a long history in Bellator. But anyhow, keeping it to here, Patricio Freire knocked him out in like a minute and a half. Few people have said it was a bad stoppage. As soon as the ref came in, Michael Chandler was getting back up. But, I mean, his face went right into the mat. Look, even whether you're okay or not, as soon as your eyes and you're just looking, your face is planted down in the mat, what the hell do you want the refs to do? They got to call the fight. You're not protecting yourself pardon me, you're not intelligently protecting yourself at this point, okay? So whether with Chandler was all right or not, irrelevant. Can you call it an early stoppage? Possibly, but look, there's way worse ones to think about or look at. He shouldn't have got caught with that big shot anyway. So, you know, congrats to Patricio Freire, still the double champ at Bellator right now. But anyhow, coming off of there, he goes to fight Sidney Outlaw, KOs him, then goes to fight Benson Henderson. This was the second time Michael Chandler and Benson Henderson fought. Okay, the first time, I think it was back at the end of 2016. All right, and Michael Chandler did beat Benson Henderson, but it was a 5-round fight. And in the 5th round, you could see Chandler was gassing out, and Henderson was starting to turn around and put it on Chandler. But already too little, too late. Chandler had the win there, but in this one, boom, gets a KO against Benson Henderson. Knocks him out. Who the hell knocks out Benson Henderson? I know he had a bad flash KO against Rafael Dos Anjos back in the UFC, I think around 2014. Summer 2014, he caught him with a nice clean uppercut. John McCarthy stopped the fight. A little bit controversial, but, you know, still, there was no controversy about this. I'm going off the top of my head, but I believe it was even a power jab that Chandler knocked out Benson Henderson with. So, highly impressive. And then most recently, makes his UFC debut at UFC 257 just this past January. Knocks out Dan Hooker with a left hook, drops him, okay? Perfectly clean, coming over the top. Sets it up by throwing a low body shot. Kept throwing these low body shots on Hooker. I think I talked about this in a video previously on this channel. Go check it out. But keeps having him look towards the body, towards the body, towards the body. As soon as he takes that shot, no problem. Comes up over the top, drops Dan Hooker. Just throws a headlock on him quick, wasn't quite going for a full-on guillotine. Lets go of it and just throws shots on Dan Hooker. The fight's over. So that's where Michael Chandler's coming into this fight. Now, Charles Oliveira, okay, this is his 8-fight winning streak. Clay Guida, round 1, guillotine, okay? Christos Giagos, I'm so sorry, I'm trying to read, and this light is really damn bright in my eyes, so I'm seeing stars looking at this sheet here. But Christos Giagos, okay, rear naked choke, round 1. Jim Miller, rear naked choke. Jim Miller, rear naked choke. Jim fucking Miller, rear naked choke. Damn. And Charles Oliveira lost previously to Jim Miller by a knee bar at UFC 124 in Montreal. I think it was the St. Pierre Koscheck card. Damn. Turns around and gets his revenge on Jim Miller. Okay? Not sure how long you've been watching this sport for, but Jim Miller is as tough as goddamn nails. Fought half his career with Lyme disease, okay? Anyhow, moving forward. Gets a anaconda choke against David Timur, okay? Then fights Nick Lentz. Nick Lentz is a hell of a grinder, okay? TKO's the grinder himself. Nick Lentz, TKO. Then takes on Jared Gordon, KO. Then takes on Kevin Lee. About just a little over a year ago in the beginning of the pandemic. It was the first actual COVID card that they did before all the shutdowns happened in Brazil. I think it was in Sao Paulo. Kevin Lee didn't even look bad in this fight. Kept taking Charles Oliveira down. Was getting a little bit lit up on the feet. This is where you started to see Charles Oliveira finally putting together smooth, heavy Muay Thai shots, okay? Kevin Lee took him down. 3rd round, the beginning of 3rd round. Charles Oliveira does what he does, snatches a guillotine on him. And then most recently, Charles Oliveira is coming off a win against Tony Ferguson. A complete dominant decision over Tony Ferguson. And if it was anybody but crazy-ass Tony Ferguson, probably would have got the tap to the armbar in the 1st round. So going back and forth on this fight, I mean, I can see either scenario holding up where Charles Oliveira is just staying nice and long on Michael Chandler, okay? Anytime he's coming in, meeting him with knees or elbows, okay, I can see him throwing those leg kicks, try to go for the calf kick, a la Brent Primus did in June 2017 against Michael Chandler. But I mean, Michael Chandler 5'6", extremely stocky and built for 155 pounds. This guy has to cut a lot of weight to make that weight, okay? I think he's normally walking around 180, 185. Not that Charles is no small guy himself, but still. He is so quick getting in and out. His boxing exchanges are great. Every time he looks like he's putting his hands down and getting a little sloppy, you know, putting down that that jab all like Tommy Hearns or someone like that back from the 80s, okay? Just, he's doing it to give you a false sense of security and explodes. I could totally see Michael Chandler just throwing something over the top that doesn't look like anything's going to hit hard, okay? And then boom, capitalizing on Charles Oliveira. But if this fight hits the ground, who the hell knows? It's extremely tough to submit Michael Chandler. His base is so strong, okay? His posturing is great on the ground. If he's in your guard, he's not one of these guys that lets your hips get a little loose. He's caging the hips, okay? And what I mean by caging the hips is, try to use my fingers as an example. If somebody has their guard up and the opponent's in between it, with their knees, they would cage the hips here so the hips can't really move around. There's some guys that get their knees behind a little loose, and that's where guys can throw their arms over the top for an arm bar or a triangle or something like that. Michael Chandler keeps his knees in tight, a la like St. Pierre, BJ Penn in their second meeting, UFC 194, okay? Or even Tito Ortiz back in the day. No, we all love to hate on Tito. I mean, can we blame us? But anyhow, look, extremely strong on top, heavy elbows, heavy shots, but Charles Oliveira is so damn slick. I mean, even if he may give you a false sense of security to pass the half guard or side control or something like that, and he's setting you up with some sort of a sweep, even he's got butterflies in side control, anything like that, he can sneak and take your back from weird positions either, even if you're passing and you give a little bit too much space on your armpit. He's very good for being slick, sliding underneath there and wrapping his arms around you and slowly sliding his way to taking the back. I don't know how the hell this one's going to go. I don't see it going to a decision. I think either one of these guys are going to finish before. As far as stamina goes, what we've seen in the past, it's hard to say. Charles Oliveira, we got to go back to his last loss, which was 9 fights ago, was by Paul Felder, who is not the greatest wizard on the ground, but was able to get on top of Charles Oliveira, cage those hips like I was talking about just 1 minute ago, and just land some nasty elbows on him. Charles Oliveira has also had a hard time making weight in several bouts, okay? Thank God for this one. He made weight. Everything's looking good. He looks crisp, lean. We're going to see how the hell he's going to perform tomorrow. But, I mean, he's had a bit of struggle in the past. I talked about this before the Tony Ferguson fight, that if Tony can put some sort of a pressure on him and put him in his position where he has to decide to either battle through the pain or grind on, at least give him the decision. Give him the decision. Hear it all the time. Quitting isn't an option. When things get tough, quitting it isn't an option. I think it was Chael Sonnen that said, dude, that's the first option. When shit gets tough, it's the first option. But grinding through it, that's what separates the toughest of the tough to the rest of the pack. So we'll see. At this moment in time, so we're speaking, I think I like Michael Chandler in this fight, but who knows? 3 hours ago, I was 1% leaning towards Charles Oliveira. It'll all be obvious when it's over. So, co-main event. Let's do this one quick, all right? Tony Ferguson taking on Beneil Dariush. Now, Tony Ferguson, I don't want to sound rude. He's looking old. He's looking old, okay? This is a guy only a couple of years older than me, and I still think I'm delusional. I'm delusional enough to think I'm still a young buck, okay? But Tony Ferguson, he has taken a tremendous beating over the entirety of his career. Tremendous beating. What happened with him with Justin Gaethje last year, that changes fighters forever. And I mean, it's not like it just happened at this point for Tony Ferguson. He took beatings in previous fights. He had a war with Edson Barbosa, I think in December 2015, where he eventually got a Darce choke on Barbosa, but still, he took some brutal kicks in that fight. He had last-minute replacement fight where he was supposed to fight Habib, I think, for the 3rd time. Lando Venata came in, rocks Tony early in that fight. Tony just comes out and he has a game that's too reliant on damage because A, he's a tough-ass son of a bitch. There's no denying how tough Tony Ferguson is. Pound for pound, might be one of the toughest fighters to ever grace that octagon, all right? Second, he's got stamina for days. Recovery day. What's a recovery day to Tony Ferguson? A recovery day is, man, we're only doing an hour of sprints today, 3 hours of sparring, some groundwork. Pardon me, I shouldn't have said the sparring. He says he doesn't spar, but say 3 hours of drilling, weight working, you know, light day like that. What? Okay? Tony Ferguson, El Cucuy. That's his nickname for a reason. The guy is nuts. He will throw caution to the wind just to get in your face, but can he still sustain that damage? Beneil Dariush, on the other hand, he's coming off a decent streak himself, most recently taking on Carlos Diego Ferreira, okay? And that was the second time he beat Diego Ferreira. And Ferreira was coming into that fight pretty hot. Just a win over Anthony Pettis recently before that. I think 4 other wins coming up. I think I had a 5-fight win streak against Beneil Dariush. Look, Dariush has power in his hands. Okay? If you watch the James Vick fight that he had, just a one-punch KO. All right? And I know James Vick gets KO'd by a lot of guys these days, but this was back when it was unsuspecting, I think a good 4 or 5 years ago. He had a rough out. He's always creeped himself up to about the top 10, top 12, and then runs into a flying knee by Edson Barbosa. Something's always backtracking him. He's missed weight in a previous fight before. I think he had an injury going into this fight. I can't remember off the top of the head which one it was. But, I mean, Dariush has been a Pan Am Jiu-Jitsu champion, I believe, at the blue belt and purple belt and brown belt level. And then also the world no-gis, also at blue belt, purple belt, brown belt. And there was a lot of black belts he was submitting back then too. I don't think he ever did compete in the worlds at black belt. I think by that time he was already focused 100% on an MMA career. But look, I think this is Beneil Dariush's time. He's either one of the guys that's going to contend in his career or he's not. Tony Ferguson, this is the perfect time for him to say, I'm still a contender, or I'm just going to start taking on big-name fights because the championship days are over. I do feel sorry for Tony Ferguson. He should have had that Khabib fight a long time ago. Who the hell knows how it would have looked? I mean, obviously, the way Khabib Nurmagomedov looks against guys and the way Charles Oliveira looked against Tony last time, you could easily presume Khabib just would have smashed him. But realistic, we really don't know that. Tony Ferguson seems to be dropping off a cliff. 155 pounds is not a friendly division for a 38-year-old man. It is not. If we're talking light heavyweight, maybe middleweight, for sure. And I mean, if you're a GOAT, maybe welterweight. I mean, Tyron Woodley won the title at welterweight at, I think, 36 years old. I mean, those weight classes, but as soon as you get down to 155, 145, 135, 125, you got young, hungry guys that are just going based off of their ability to just be quick in and out. Hate making predictions. This isn't a prediction, but leaning towards Beneil Dariush in this one. And I don't normally like to say who the hell I'm rooting for because, look, I'm a huge fan. Obviously, I got my favorite fighters. There's guys I'm die-hard for. There's guys I could do without. But I kind of hope Beneil Dariush does win this fight. Just from the post-fight or pre-fight press conference, Tony Ferguson bragging about how he broke one of his students' ribs in training and that they asked for it. Look, what an absolute fucking dick asshole move, okay? Anybody who beats on anybody who's a lower level than you and that's who you're beating on in the gym, first of all, you shouldn't even be beating anybody in the gym. If it's you and somebody that you've trained with for years and you're just getting competitive juices flowing and it's both something consensual that you're, yeah, let's get after it. Sure, why the hell not? Especially if you're training for a fight, but I'm just talking about just general training, okay? Beating on a student, I don't even know if he was, but boasting at a press conference that you broke their rib? Ugh, ugly, doesn't look good, turned my stomach the wrong way. Huge turnoff. Tony Ferguson, wish him the best of luck. But I mean, I don't know how delusional he is to the point where that's something to bring up at a press conference. Be proud of. Asshole move. Gotta say it. Plus another line. I think Joshua Fabia is rumored to be in Tony Ferguson's corner for this fight. I mean, if you thought Eddie Bravo telling Tony Ferguson between round 4 and 5 at the Justin Gaethje fight a year ago, okay, if you thought that was bad advice for Eddie Bravo to say, go for an Imanari roll, why not? Try it out. Look, Eddie Bravo is a jiu-jitsu guy, shouldn't have been in between corners. Eddie Bravo didn't even want to do it. One of the coaches just said, shit, we're out of advice, just go for it. Wait till you hear what the hell Joshua Fabia has to say, because this guy is a fucking loophead, all right? Don't even know. Maybe there should be some sort of, you know, criteria that you have to meet to actually corner somebody, because this guy, I don't think can meet any of it. But that's a different story for a different day. So, anyhow, enjoy UFC 262 tomorrow night. Man, it's going to be a good one. Is it the most stacked card we've seen so far this year? No. But we haven't seen a shitty pay-per-view this year either. And I doubt it's going to start tomorrow. So, if you enjoyed the content here today, subscribe to the channel. Until next time,